there's been a lot of controversy around the tariff hike. Now, following the approval of 50% adjustment in telecommunications tariffs by the Nigerian Communications Commission, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission wants telecom operators to prioritize consumer interest while implementing measures to mitigate the impact of the increase on consumers. The Director of Corporate Affairs of the Commission, Mr. Ondaje Jagos, said this in a statement, encouraging consumers to report any unfair practices to ensure effective resolution. Mr. Jago also commended the NCC for adopting a deliberate and measured approach by rationalizing the tariff adjustment, saying that the approval is a thoughtful effort to balance industry sustainability with consumer protection. He also emphasized the need for tariff adjustments to directly translate into tangible service enhancement for consumers. All right, let's expand this further. We have the very key player in that sector. He is the CEO, MTN, Carl Toriola. Good to have you join us.
Good evening, Precious. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
I wish you the same, but this has got Nigerians talking in this new year. But let's begin from the very first time we heard you push for an increase in tariff. You pushed for 100%, but it would seem that the government has now met you midway or halfway. Are you satisfied with the 50% you got?
I think what you read out from the FCCPC was accurate. It was a deliberate and measured approach by the authorities. I want to thank the government of President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the Honorable Minister and the EBC for coming through with this. Of course, we'd have wanted more, but I think this is a very good first step.
So for a lot of people, what they've heard is sustainability. And I just wanted to ask you what that means for people who do not understand it. They believe, look, this is just another way to increase the hardship for Nigerians.
So sustainability means that this industry would not have been able to continue to survive if this tariff increase didn't come through. As of the third quarter of last year, our revenues had increased by about 30%. Our costs had gone up by 96%. And effectively, we were spending more than we were earning to keep the networks running. And effectively, the network would have collapsed. But I'd like to focus maybe a little bit on what the expectations are from the minister and the regulator as a consequence of this tariff increase. It's been made extremely clear to the entire industry that it's expected that quality of service will improve. And let me tell you why this tariff increase was important for that. First and foremost, it allows us to pay our diesel bills through the tower companies because diesel costs have gone up from about 300 naira to 1,300 naira, and we just couldn't afford to keep sites up anymore. So the first thing we do is there's power availability on our base stations to transmit to customers. The second thing it does, it allows us to expand our networks to soak up and provide a good quality of service with the additional capacity that's being demanded by customers. So it allows us to invest in further capacity, new technology to provide a good quality of service, and it allows us to provide redundant and robust systems to provide a good quality of service. And the expectations are extremely clear. Quality of service must improve, dropped calls have to reduce, and we must have transparency of billing. People have to understand what's happening to their data depletion, and I have no doubt we're going to be held to task on that by the authorities. So
let's talk about quality of service, because we spoke with the Secretary General of the TUC, that's the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, yesterday. And for them, quality service should come before increase in tariff. And they have said if this is implemented, they are going to down tools, they are going on nationwide strike.
Well, I'm not going to get into political and union matters, but how I'll put it to you is this. You cannot have quality of service if you don't have the funds to be able to keep your sites up. Effectively, if you don't have enough money to pay, to fuel and to pay for electricity bills for the sites, quality of service is only going to worsen. And in exactly the same vein, over the last 2 years, everything has gone up, including the minimum wage. This is the only industry that hasn't seen an increase. Petrol has gone from 160 naira to 1,000 naira approximately. Diesel has gone from 300 naira to 1,300 naira. Electricity has gone up 341% in Band A. There's no way our networks can continue to be sustained when we're not earning enough money to pay our bills. So I think it's more the other way around. I think it's putting the cart ahead of the horse. We need the investments first to sustain the business and then to invest and improve quality of service.
I guess this will always be the chicken, the egg kind of conversation which should come first. For Nigerians, they believe quality service should come first. But you were saying that, look, if we do not even have this increase in tariff at all, we can render quality service. But are you also aware that the National Association of Telecommunication Subscribers have now made this a court case? They are saying they do not want anything more than 10% to 15%. And then this is now a court matter.
Well, the judiciary system will address those issues. It's going to be very challenging for me to debate those issues on the press around the views of civic society. But I keep going back to the simple point. There's nothing in this country that hasn't gone up approximately on average 3 to 4-fold. This is the only service that for the last 10 years hasn't increased. Why we need this increase is really to address the quality of service issues. And while I understand all of us are imperfect, I still think that in the context of what we've seen in terms of operating expenditure increases for the entire industry, I still think we're providing as close to world-class a service in telecommunications as any services that you'll get in Nigeria.
Would 10 to 15%, like the NatComs is proposing, suffice?
I'll put it to you this way. If by between January and September 2024, our operating expenditure had gone up by 96%, how would it suffice? 15%. You still have a gap of 80%. So the alternative we have is that sites just start to go down. And sometimes your network is on, sometimes it isn't. But I'd really like to speak really a lot more towards what the expectations are and how hard we're being driven by the regulator and the Honorable Minister towards quality of service. Yes, they've made this very measured, thoughtful increase. It's way below anything that we've seen in any other sector of the economy. We've spoken about airlines, everything. But they've made it extremely clear to us. They expect quality of service to improve, starting with availability of the networks. That's the uptime that's connected to public means power, diesel supply. That's the first thing. Capacity, to ensure that the demand that is being driven by consumers, we have enough capacity to absorb it. And then redundancy, to make sure that our networks have the robustness and the resilience so that if there's one outage here, we have an alternative route to carry traffic. And then finally, in investing towards future-proof technologies that take us into the world of artificial intelligence, digitization of health, education, etc. So
how soon have you started implementing the new tariff? And then how soon would Nigerians start to enjoy the improved quality of service?
So the tariff implementation is going to happen over the next few days. We do that at the discretion of the regulator. Let's be clear, we have demanded this quality of service and it's on us we've demanded this tariff increases. It's on us that this tariff increases have come through. The quality of service improvement, we are already making commitments, and I mean financial commitments, not verbal commitments, to bring in additional capacity, robustness into our network. So in the next 2 to 3 months, you'll start to see a gradual uptick in the quality of service and in transparency around things around billing and all the other things that are pain points for the customer.
So there is really almost no business today in this country that doesn't depend on one service or the other provided by telecommunications. But the worry for a lot of people at the small and medium enterprises, and people are wondering, again, their cost is going to go up. And then, of course, the ripple effect, it comes back to the consumer. How do you think it's best to balance the cost for small businesses and then the consumer protection as well as sustainability of your sector?
Look, we desired and expected a 100% increase. We got 50%. I think that's the first point of balance. I think I've overspoken about the increases you've seen in every other industry. Petrol, diesel, US dollars, electricity, airline transportation. So by giving us 50%, I think that balance is already established. We offer a variety of products and services that suit different pockets, different needs, different times and patterns of consumption. For example, in the later hours of the day, when our network is less occupied, we offer cheaper packages. So there's a variety of mixes. You can commit to packages a year in advance, which brings your average rate down. There's a variety of mixes for people to actually use to select what suits their business or personal priorities and is most efficient for them. And remember, it's a very competitive market. Customers will always vote with their wallets for where they get the best value for money.
I'm sure that we'll continue to have you on this conversation because it would seem like you said the implementation is going to start in a few days, then conversation again will kick in. Thank you so much for your time. The CEO, MTN Nigeria, Carl Toriola.
Thank you very much, Precious.
Thank you.